Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 24th of April, now it's 10:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me make a little announcement, because many of you did ask me previously to create a page account on Buy Me Coffee. I did listen to you, and with help of my relatives in Georgia, from today I will have a account on Buy Me Coffee. Also, you will see links on my videos in the description box. And yes, I did needed help from relatives in Georgia, because, as you know, Russia is under thousands of sanctions from Western elites, and those sanctions, if they are hurting anyone in Russia, mainly ordinary people. So when it comes to, for example, these payment systems, that's one of the ways that we are forced to use, just ask relatives to help us. But that's been said, let's talk about news now. And this video gonna be first update for today. As I announced yesterday, I will create two updates on daily basis. First one will be on YouTube in the first half of the day, and second update with additional information that will be available. Second update will be uploaded for Patreon subscribers. This way, I hope I will generate enough interest that I will have a little bit more subscribers on Patreon, and that will just help me to keep doing this work and create news updates for you. So yes, let's talk about news now. And this is TASS news agency's report, according to which Russian Black Sea fleet did manage to destroy one marine drone in direction of Sevastopol, and the second drone malfunctioned and did blow up on its own. As you can see, Zelensky's regime is continuing to hit deep inside Russian territory, and they are using flying drones, marine drones, just any means really to somehow hurt Russia. Hopefully, they will be unsuccessful, and at least today, Russian Black Sea Fleet did manage to destroy drones. And second video is also about drone strike. According to TASS news agency, yet again, this is Kommersant is writing, but main source is TASS news agency. One drone was found in Moscow region, in northern part of Moscow region. Drone was UJ-22, and on this drone 70 kilograms of explosive materials were placed. And according to this information, drone just used all its fuel and went down without hurting or damaging anyone or anything on the ground. Yet again, one may say this is kind of a miracle, because just imagine how much damage drone with 17 kilogram of explosive could do if it will strike apartment building or road, for example. So as you can see, Zelensky's regime is time after time conducting terrorist attacks, because no other way to explain this kind of actions from those criminals. Let's continue. And by the way, I did share on my Telegram channel just a few minutes ago also information that Zelensky's regime did strike yet again with use of drone fuel depot in LPR. So that's photo materials about it, and yes, they have to be stopped, because they will continue their terroristic actions as long as they are able to. So let's continue now. This is RIA Novosti's report, according to which Zelensky, in interview to Al Arabiya TV company, TV channel, did stated that they have to hold on to Bakhmut because otherwise Russian side will establish control not just over the Bakhmut itself, but over the larger territories in surrounding areas. And this way, Zelensky basically is trying to explain itself why Bakhmut garnison was not withdrawn from city and why he and his henchmen did sacrifice thousands and thousands of people. I don't think anyone gonna take these kind of explanations as a relevant one. Everyone understands that Zelensky and his henchmen and his Western masters basically did not withdraw forces from Bakhmut because Biden administration just don't want to hear any bad news from Ukraine. And that's only reason why Zelensky's regime did sacrifice thousands of soldiers, mainly forcefully mobilized soldiers in battle for Bakhmut. And by the way, let me share with you this information. When it comes to losses of forces that are still loyal to Zelensky's regime, TASS news agency did report, based on statements from Andrei Marochko, a military expert from LPR, that just in previous week, Zelensky's regime did lost 4,000 servicemen, KIA, killed in action, just in single week. And this is a quite conservative estimate. So, I mean, you can judge for your own how much damage had been done to Ukraine and Ukraine society because of the actions of Zelensky's criminal terrorist regime and Western masters of those criminals. Let's continue. And here, TASS news agency is reporting that according to a Ukrainian official, Alexei Danilov, he is head of chairman of Ukraine's Security Council. According to him, Ukraine will be ready to conduct counteroffensive when they will receive enough military equipment. So these kind of statements, I mean, recently we are hearing more and more statements like this, that they are not conducting counteroffensive because anticipated by many and demanded by Washington and London. There are many statements from different officials that they are not conducting counteroffensive because they don't have enough military equipment. In some parts, partially this is true probably, but main reason that they are not conducting counteroffensive is that, first of all, Russian side is ready to repel any possible counteroffensive from Zelensky's regime. That's the main point. And secondly, they lack manpower. Zelensky's regime desperately lacks manpower. And yes, there are some statements different from different public figures that Zelensky may have about 200,000 reservists or 400,000 reservists or something like that. But in reality, they only have about 70, 80,000 soldiers that can be used to conduct some counteroffensive. But once those last remainings of Ukrainian armed forces will be neutralized, then basically Ukrainian armed forces will start to collapse on the entire line of contact between Russian and Ukrainian forces. And that's why they are not conducting counteroffensive. They have no reserves, no more. And because of it, in previous updates, I did start doubting even possibility that Zelensky's regime, despite Western pressure, will be able to conduct large-scale counteroffensive. Of course, we are talking about this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, because U.S. officials did basically openly stated quite a few times that main direction of counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime will be this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, and Zelensky's regime will probably conduct some local scale offensive operations. But when it comes to large scale offensive, I truly doubt that they will be able to achieve any success or even conduct such a counteroffensive. And by the way, when it comes to frontline situation, we did have the information that PMC Wagner units with support of Russian airborne forces did manage to improve their positions in and around Bakhmut, and 4 more blocks now in Bakhmut, in this little pocket that is still under control of Zelensky's regime. 4 more blocks now become under full Russian control. Let me show you on this other map situation in Bakhmut. So where is the Bakhmut? That's it. So as you can see, these white dots are primarily a contact line between the sites, and as I did predicted yesterday and previous updates, Russian side basically did manage to reach units that were conducting operations in direction of Kramova. So entire this northern eastern part of Bakhmut now under full Russian control, and at the same time PMC Wagner units did have some success in the western direction, also in close vicinity to Kramova. And yes, we just had information. I did also share on my Telegram channel that head of Ukrainian ground forces, General Sirsky, did arrive in Chesov Yar, and it seems like at least Ukrainian sources are talking about order that Ukrainian forces have to keep fight for Bakhmut at least until 9th of May. As you know, 9th of May is Victory Day, and majority of former Soviet republics will celebrate this day. But because current Ukraine, modern Ukraine, is for modern Ukraine, heroes are Banderas, Shukhevich, and some other Nazi war criminals. They want to do all they can to somehow, disturb celebration in Russia, celebration of victory over Nazism and fascism. It's quite symbolic, isn't it, that Zelensky's Nazi regime is acting like that. Of course, they're gonna act like this, man. They are them Nazis and fascists, just criminals, man. So let's continue, and by the way, this is a basically continuation of topic of anticipated by many counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime. Head of Kherson region, Vladimir Saldo did made statement and denied information that Zelensky's regime did establish any bridgeheads on the left bank of the Dnieper River. Yesterday, on some Telegram channels, information was circulating that Ukrainian forces did manage to cross Dnieper River and establish some bridgeheads in a few areas. Some reports even say that one group of Ukrainian forces were trapped around the bridge over the Dnieper in Kherson. But at least on level of officials, Russian side is saying that there are no Ukrainian bridgeheads on the left bank. But anyway, no one gonna be surprised with the activization of Zelensky's regime in direction of Kherson region, because I was predicting this for quite a while now, that in preparation for counteroffensive in direction of Azov Sea to cut this land bridge, Zelensky's regime will activate its forces in Kherson region and in Zaporozhye region, and they will try to establish some bridgeheads when it comes to Kherson region on the left bank, especially around Novaya Kakhovka, to establish control over the dam during the large-scale offensive, to establish control over this dam here, which is only way now to move heavy military equipment from one bank of the river to another. And we also had information that in Zaporozhye region, according to official from Zaporozhye, Vladimir Rogov, Zelensky's regime did manage to concentrate about 12,000 military personnel in Gulyai-Pole, in city of Gulyai-Pole and surrounding areas. Let me show you this town. So Gulyai-Pole is here. That's a Gulyai-Pole, right next to front line, and as I understand, according to some reports, Russian side did even conduct some offensive operations yesterday, local scale offensive operations yesterday in this direction. Exactly. And yes, as you can see, Zelensky's regime don't really have much choice other than at least imitate counteroffensive, large-scale counteroffensive. And if Washington will not stop demanding from Zelensky to conduct offensive operations, then these last remnants of Ukrainian armed forces that Zelensky's regime did concentrate in Zaporozhye and Kherson region, they will be ordered to attack this land bridge, and majority of those Ukrainian units will be annihilated, really, because, as I said, they have no chance to achieve any significant success. They just have no chance, and Zelensky's regime and his military leaders do know this. And exactly the same we can say about Pentagon officials, and that's why there are many reports in media that U.S. high-ranking militaries did recommend to Zelensky's regime to withdraw forces from Bakhmut and to take time when it comes to counteroffensive in direction of this land bridge, because everyone really understands that this is last reserve that Zelensky's regime has. And if they were unsuccessful during the counteroffensive, if they failed to reach Azov Sea, to establish control over the Melitopol or Berdyansk, that will be a huge defeat for Zelensky's regime, and Ukrainian armed forces will start to collapse on all the way when it comes to contact line between the sides. But let's see, man. So this is TASS News Agency's report. Let me check how long is this video. 18 minutes. Okay. So let's continue with some other news now. And TASS News Agency is reporting that Baltic states did demand from a Chinese ambassador explanations about statements that Chinese ambassador in France, Lu Shai, made, according to whom Crimea was a part of Russia, and it's not necessarily legal. It was not necessarily illegal that Khrushchev did gifted this Russian territory to Ukraine. Many in the West don't even know that Crimea was part of Russia. And then in 50s, Khrushchev, 50s or 60s, in 60s, yes, Khrushchev did just gifted this peninsula to Ukraine. and there was no referendum, or no one asked anybody about this Khrushchev, and he was from Ukraine, by the way, and he just took this into a peninsula and gifted to Ukraine, man. But in the West, no one is talking about it, you know. And the French and the Chinese ambassador in France, he just talked about history, that Crimea was a part of Russia and was gifted to Ukraine, and he didn't really said anything controversial. But Baltic states are now like wanting some attention, probably. Those Nazi elites of Baltic states, they lack some attention, probably. They have some complex there, and now they are demanding from Chinese ambassador some explanations. I mean, who cares about them? And I mean, really, Chinese ambassador may go there and say to them all that they can shut up, because they mean nothing to nobody in this world, man. Elites of Baltic states means nothing to nobody in this world, so they cannot demand from China nothing, man, ever. Not from China, not from anybody, really, But they are acting like they are someone like important, but they are not really. It's just truly modern politics. I mean, especially when it comes to this extremely Russophobic states in Eastern Europe. I mean, it's just not even laughable. It's tragedy. It's just tragedy that such a low-level, low-qualification people are heads of states and are in the elites. Unbelievable. And once again, the Chinese ambassador didn't say anything controversial. He just spoke about history. Let's continue, and this is TASS News Agency's report, according to which former Russian president and deputy chairman of Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, did made statement that if G7 countries will impose embargo on Russia on any exports from G7 countries, then Russian side will probably stop grain deal, stop participating in grain deal. I don't really think that grain deal is has same weight that G7's possible decision to impose full embargo on Russia on export, but full or partial embargo. But still, maybe I don't understand something when it comes to grain deal, because I mean, I was surprised that Medvedev mentioned in this deal in context of G7's possible decision to ban all exports to Russia. Maybe grain deal in reality means much more for the West than we think. I don't know. But that's what Medvedev did said, and to be honest, in Russia, this grain deal is very unpopular, and it's quite possible that Russia will not continue its participation in this deal in a few months' time, because Moscow did said that if Russia will stop participating in this deal, Russia will deliver grain to countries in need for free, so that Western elites won't be able to use this topic for the propaganda, for the anti-Russian propaganda. And let's continue. This is TASS News Agency's report, according to which Lavrov, head of Russian Foreign Ministry, was very mad on U.S. leadership because, especially State Department, because they did not issue visas for Russian journalists. so that they will go in UN and just conduct their professional work. This is not the first time that US does this kind of stuff and denies visas to Russian delegations and to Russian journalists. And that's why it's time to move UN from US. At this stage, it just absolutely don't make any sense that UN main headquarters of UN is still based in New York, in the USA. It just don't really make any sense, man. It should be, I don't know, let's move it in Brazil, for example, or in South Africa. I'm not talking about to move headquarters in Russia. No, it would be nice, of course, but it will create tensions. Of course, it's impossible to achieve such a agreement between the countries. But let's move headquarters of UN in Brazil, for God's sake, or in South Africa. Because this organization is already failing in so many directions, and work of this institution is becoming even more difficult because of the actions of US elites. They are basically not issuing visas to delegations from the countries that have to go in UN and represent their countries, man. I mean, it's madness. It's truly madness, and I don't understand why leading countries in this world like Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa are saying nothing about it, or Middle Eastern states, Saudi Arabia, for example, or Iran. They all should come up with a statement that UN's headquarters should be moved from US. Maybe we will see this kind of development in coming years, man, because it truly does not make any sense to keep UN in US now. It just, I mean, it's crazy though. And this is RIA Novosti's report, according to which, yes, Chinese, basically this topic of de-dollarization is quite popular nowadays in all around the world, in all media outlets, and CCTV, Chinese TV company, did made a report about current situation when it comes to dollar as a main world reserve currency. And yes, CCTV did stated that US basically blew up on its own mine, on its own financial mine, because they did extended their capacities or to use dollar as a weapon, and it's now acting against the US itself, because yes, US did breach this line of no return, and world is now in rapid speed are distancing itself from US dollar, and this trend is unstoppable. I don't know how long it will take, 5 years, 10 years, or maybe less, but eventually dollar will of course lose its status as a main reserve currency in this world. And let's continue. This is Kommersant newspaper's report, according to which South Korea did made decision to fully or partially ban exports in Russia of some 800 different items that are produced in South Korea. I mean, what you gonna say about this, man? I mean, if they won't hurt their own economy, South Korean leaders, then let's do it. Because okay, Russian citizens don't buy South Korean phones or netbooks or cars or whatever, and they will buy Chinese or Indian. So, I mean, who cares really? At this stage, I don't think anybody in Russia truly do care about production that is, about items that are produced in the West, because there are so many alternatives and high quality alternatives, especially from China and India. So if South Korean leaders won't hurt their own economy and their own companies, let them do it, man. And Moscow will, of course, respond, man. Moscow will not forget about actions of South Korea, and Seoul will learn fairly soon what will be Moscow's reaction. RIA Novosti's report here, and this is going to be last news for today. So Russian financial expert, former partner of McKinsey, Yakov Sergeyenko, made a prediction. RIA Novosti did take interview with him, and he did make assumption basically that before 2025, Western companies that left Russia will lose about $500 billion. Just imagine that. Western companies that leave Russia will lose $500 billion. And this is not just numbers, man. This is a workplace for people, isn't it? If companies will lose 500 billion, probably they will cut on production, isn't it? So once they will cut on production, they will don't need as much workforce that they had when they were actively working in Russia on Russian markets. And eventually, because of these crazy decisions, crazy steps from Western elites, eventually who will be hurt? Yet again, ordinary citizens, man. Ordinary citizens in very same Western countries that will be, laid off from work, and they have to looking for another job. And I mean, who wants this? No one. But as long as West is run by these crazy idiots, nothing will truly change in a good way, isn't it? So yes, this is it for now. I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist, please consider to support with the small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box. And yes, I will create second update late afternoon for Patreon, so Patreon subscribers will be, Patreon subscribers can write to me questions, and if they want to, and I will try to answer on those questions also during the update. So yes, that's been said, I wish you a great week, successful week. Take care and see you soon.